Okay, I want to conduct a banjo experiment. Here is a novel thought. Do you need a great big solid whacking pot on a banjo to get a sound out of it? Do you need to waste all that unnecessary wood in order to apparently improve the sound of the banjo? So, in order to answer this fascinating question, I have built two banjo heads and pots, but as you'll probably see if you look at this, the banjo pot is non-existent. It is simply a frame structure, and this has been an idea that's been running around in my head for years. Actually, I came up with the idea probably about 10 years ago, 9-10 years ago, started on it, ditched it, and then about this time last year started on it again. So here's the first of the pots I've built. This is not going to be a working banjo, it is simply an experiment. So what have we got? We've got a frame built out of basically utility bits of wood, bits of oak, bits of pine, so on and so forth. The head, or the wooden skin, is the cheapest possible utility spruce that I got from, I have no idea where I got it from. You can see it's cheap because of the amount of knots and things and so on and so forth in it. It was originally a table. I cut the table down and just hand sawed the wood to the thickness I wanted it, which is pretty thin. It has a brace underneath, which I'm not going to take off and show you at the moment because I've got clamps on. But what I want to do is run the experiment. Does this thing make a sound, and do you need a pot to get a sound out of a banjo? So here we go. If we can just find a place to be able to set my camera up. Let's see if we can just do it over. Ooh, this is going to be interesting. That will. Please don't fall on the floor and break. There we are. So I've set my camera up. I am going to be, let me remove the tape, I am going to be the machine head. I have a bridge made out of a bit of oak, which is about as fundamental as it gets because it's not even been shaped. Okay, I am also going to be the neck and fretboard, but let's see what we get out of it. Here we go. Alright, give it a bit of tension. Up here. So there you go. This banjo pot makes a sound. And do you need the pot itself to make that sound? No, you don't. You only need the head. In fact, air is a great conductor of sound, so in theory, the sound coming off that very, very cheap head, which, as I said, is the cheapest pine you could possibly, it's not even pine, let's be realistic, it's cheap, fast-growing spruce, is going to be enhanced potentially by not having a pot around it at all, because I've got more space for that sound to travel, not just forward but sideways. This is just my theory. It's probably, I've got all scientists going to say you're a load of rubbish. Well, a load of rubbish. So that's pot number one. Now, pot number two. This is terribly exciting. While I remove it, marvellous that, isn't it, really? Pot number two. So let me just lower my strings to the floor for the moment, is built from slightly better wood. The pot itself is dreadful. It is just a frame. I haven't designed it to be anything other than a frame. Just walking across to the camera. But the head of it is, let me show you this. The head of it is sapphire, I think. And what I've done with this one is I have actually introduced a space between the skin, based on the theory that potentially you may get more sound if you haven't got a single vibrating head, but you've actually got two vibrating heads. This again is braced underneath. You can see it's made of the cheapest of the cheap. I mean, I really haven't gone to town on anything here except I've put some pegs in at the end, so I'm going to clamp this one down as well. Here we go, let's just find a bit of space to clamp it so it doesn't shoot off the table. Okay, I think we'll brace it at 180 degrees to give it a better chance of not shooting off the table. Grab my trusty machine head, aka piece of dowel. Loop it onto any one of these very exciting screws that I've stuck in the end. If I can do that. It will allow me to do that. It may not allow me to do that. This could be fun. To extend the... Hold your hands. There we go. Right, similar sort of thing. You're going to place the bridge, aka piece of oak dowel, any old place. Now, this will be an interesting one because... Ooh! I'm just waiting for it to stop moving. Now that has actually got a sweeter sound, which I can tell straight away because it's a better quality wood. Again, we've got no bridge whatsoever, no pot whatsoever. Let's go up here. Let's see if I move this, whether I get a change in the sound. Let's stick it in the middle. Let's try that. Now that is a significant level of sound, I think, considering this is pretty rudimentary. It's just an experiment. I've heard wooden banjos before. Some fantastic ones actually, some wooden-headed banjos. Oh, this is lovely. Here we go. Now that's a significant level of amplification, which I think demonstrates that the pot is really just a complete waste of wood. And if you could devise a system for tensioning even a skin head rather than a wooden head, which you could have tensioning just going down posts. So your tensioners go down just down a post, just down a post. None of this great chunky wood in between. You'd reduce the weight of the pot. I think potentially you could produce a better sounding instrument because you're relying on air as the sound conductor, not a chamber. So that's just my theory. That's a bit of fun anyway. So there you go, that's my little experiment, just to see whether or not there is any mileage in potentially producing a banjo that is simply a frame rather than a solid pot and a solid waste of wood. And then consider whether you put a wooden top on it, or whether you put a skin head, or whether you put a plastic head on it in order to create the sound. But there you are, it's an interesting theory. So the next step is for me to go ahead and see if I can build one. Thanks for having listened. Cheers.